Hi everyone, I'll be starting in just a minute. We still have 1 minute to go, so I'll allow some more time so more people can hop on. Welcome everyone. I hope you're all having a lovely day. It was a beautiful day here in Melbourne today, so yeah, nice, warm, sunny, really nice. So just a couple of more seconds and then we'll start. So according to my watch, it's time. So I'll start. And before I start, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Helen, and I'm a volunteer for the Paul and Stephen Spiritist Center. And today I'll be talking about faith in the future, and the main topic is patience. And I think we would all appreciate how useful that will be. Hi Eliana, hi Orlando, I hope you two are well. So before we begin, what we normally do is we do a moment of concentration and elevating our thoughts so we can connect to the higher powers, to the higher spirits, and to the divinity, to God or to our Creator, in order for us to learn more and take more advantage of what we're going to discuss here today so we can put it in practice into our day-to-day lives. So you can keep your eyes open or closed. I'm going to close my eyes just because I can concentrate better. Okay? So let's relax, gather our thoughts, and let's connect with the higher spirits, with God, as we ask for inspiration, for protection, so that we can learn something useful for our lives. But not only that, so we can actually implement and put into practice. We ask that our minds are expanded in understanding, and although we're separate physically, we're united in our purpose to learn and to grow and to become the best human beings we could be. And we ask for protection from the higher spirits to all those who are in need and don't have access at this moment to the divine message. Stay with us, so be it. So I hope you're all well. Like I said in the beginning, for those who just arrived, our topic today is going to be patience and faith in the future. So I'll start with the proper definition of faith, but we're going to look at the importance of faith and perhaps how we can develop faith and the different aspects of faith, the different virtues that involves having faith. So the dictionary, I'm going to read, okay? Sometimes I'm going to read. The dictionary definition of faith is of patience is the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, problems, or suffering without becoming annoyed or anxious. So if you're not sure if this is for you, let's have a small quiz. Can you accept and tolerate delay without being annoyed or anxious? For example, if you're in line in a bank and it's taking forever, can you tolerate that without being anxious or annoyed? If your answer is no, maybe this topic is important. Can you tolerate problems or suffering and all that without being annoyed or anxious? We will all have to agree that probably a very small percentage of human beings are able to say that they are patient, and that patience is a virtue that they have fully developed. Don't you agree? Well, at least me, yes, that's true. Just the line, like waiting in line or waiting for a meeting or waiting for something, sometimes it's hard not to feel annoyed or anxious, depending on the situation. So looking at that, I'm going to, and I've used 4 books for the study today, and I'll comment on them as I use them. So I took what I'm going to say now from Words of Eternal Life. And this book is a lovely book with little, like Emmanuel, which is a higher spirit that communicates and wrote through Chico Xavier. He would analyze snippets of what Jesus said and would expand that so we can understand better. And this is a wonderful book. Like it's really good. So if you look at the chapter 171, and I'm going to read, he says, I'm not going to read all of it, just a part. He says that patience is serenity and calmness, but not approval of disturbance. So he's going to show what patience is and what patience is not. Sometimes people get confused, especially with the virtues that are more subtle, like patience, acceptance, resignation. It has like a sense of passiveness, which is not true. So Emmanuel says it is serenity and calmness, but it is not approving disturbance or anything like that. Patience is tolerance and understanding, but it's not allowing abuse. So yes, it's tolerance and understanding, but it's not saying abuse is okay, because that's not correct. And he goes on showing the difference between patience and things that are not patience. But he finalizes with this, and listen how similar it is to what our definition of patience is in the dictionary, which for me it's a progress, isn't it? That our definition is very similar to what Emmanuel brought. He said, patience is the ability to identify challenges and mistakes in our daily lives. So identify challenges and mistakes in our daily lives, seeking the solution for them without creating drama or being irritated. Challenging, isn't it? So it's the ability to identify the challenge and mistakes, and while we look for the solution, we are not creating any drama and we're not feeling irritated. Isn't that interesting? So that's what he brought in this book, Words of Eternal Life. And wouldn't that be a wonderful trait for us to develop, a wonderful skill for us to develop? If we look at all the great spiritual masters that walked on earth in all times, they were the living embodiment of what they preached. What do I mean by that? Whatever it is that they said, it was completely aligned with what they did. So they wouldn't be like me, for example, who's talking about patience, but it's a skill that I still have to develop. And that's the difference. They would talk about patience and they would exemplify, they would live that in their everyday. So if you have a look at all the people that were great spiritual masters, and if you look at questions 6 to 7 in the 6 to 5, sorry, in the Spirits book, when Allan Kardec, which the Spirits book is the other one that I use, and that's why I'm quoting it, and also the Gospel as explained by Spiritism. So Kardec wanted to know who should we model, because we had so many amazing people that came with amazing information about how to live our lives and how to improve ourselves. But he asked that question to the spirits, and the spirit says that of all the spirits that walked on earth, Jesus was the greatest model that we saw. And I guess that's why Allan Kardec, the second book he wrote was the Gospel as understood by Spiritism, is where he gets parts of what Jesus brought and he expands on that with the help of the higher spirits. So because he said that, let's look at something that Jesus said and that was in this book. And that was why I started, why Emmanuel was talking about patience. So Jesus says that, and I'm going to read it, and it's in Luke 21:19 if you want to have a look. So, in your patience possesses ye your souls. So let's translate it into more modern language. So in your patience, like when you are being patient, you possess your soul. So you're in control of your life. And that really reminded me something that I heard from Gandhi when he was talking about nonviolence and saying why he was doing the things the way he was doing. He was proposing a huge change, and he did not want to rely on being violent. And he said this phrase, and I will never forget. He says, nonviolence is the strongest kind of power. And I made a link with a book that I read that's called Power versus Force. And in this book, which is not spiritist or anything, but it's very interesting, the person says that it's very different force to power. And the great spiritual leaders like Jesus, they had power. They didn't use force. And if you look at everyone's story, what they lived in their lives, they demonstrated power without force. Because none of them were conformists. What do I mean by that? They were patients and they lived patience, but they were not conformists. And by conformist, I mean they were not passive when they saw injustice. They weren't passive when they saw that something was not right, when people were being disrespectful, when people were demonstrating inequality towards other beings and other people. So when that happened, they weren't passive. They would take action. But the great difference is their action was not violent. And if you pay attention as well, when those actions, the injustice and all that was happening against them, they wouldn't do anything. Isn't that amazing? They would embody what we have to do to cope with suffering. They were the living example or the living role models of how we should behave. Because if we have to go through something, and that's something that is also in the Gospel according to Spiritism, we have to think that everything is a plan that God has, or our Creator has, for our benefit. So everyone that's in the planet right now, everyone with no exception, there's a perfect plan for their happiness. And that's what they're experiencing. And it might not seem like that. It might seem that it's terrible, especially in this moment that we're living, because of all that's happening, of the pandemic that's happening around the world. It might seem that that's not correct, but everything that happens to us, there's a reason, and it's a loving reason. And if we keep that in mind, and we're going to see in a while how faith links to having patience, we will see that that's the way that the greatest leaders, when they came here on the planet, when they lived here amongst us, that's what they demonstrated at all times. And I'm studying something regarding to business for my job and all. And it says that when we want to learn something, we can learn through role models. We can learn through role models. And they do this in business. And when you do that, you have to say, what's the mindset of that person? What are the actions of that person? And then if you do similar, if you have a similar mindset and similar set of actions, you will get similar results to what those people got. If we bring it towards the spiritual and the self-development and our growth, if we role model these amazing masters that we had, and we look at their mindset and we look at their actions and we try to put that in our daily lives, we will certainly be on our path to our personal growth. That's what I noticed when I was reading and when I was studying, that they came to really show us what to do, literally show. So pay attention to what I said, and I'm going to just repeat, so when you have time you can pay attention to that. So it might be that you have a certain mindset or a certain set of behavior, but if you look at the great masters, they were, like I said, they weren't passive. They were patient all the time. They were kind. They were loving, but they were firm. They were decisive, but they were nonviolent. So interesting, isn't it? And they got results with what they did. And their examples echoed until today. Like thousands of years echoed. And now we receive it, and now it's our turn to learn. So when Jesus said, in your patience you possess your soul, it's because you're in a place of power. A person who is patient, who is loving, who is kind, who accepts a certain situation, they are in such a place of power because they have an understanding of what's happening, and faith, and that's why they're doing what they're doing. Okay, I hope that kind of connects with a few of you. And like I said, we're going to look at 3 aspects of patience. The first is patience towards other people. And if we look at the gospel in chapter 9, item 7, I'm going to read as well. It says that patience is also a form of charity. And then he continues, charity that consists in giving alms to the poor is the easiest of all charities. They didn't say it's wrong or anything. They're not criticizing. They're just making a comparison, okay? Every kind of charity is a charity. And but what he said is patience is a form of charity. If compared with giving money or anything material, it's a much more valuable and difficult and challenging. And therefore, you have more of a sense of doing, really like working in your charity muscle, let's put it that way. And he continues, there's another kind of charity, however, that's much more burdensome. And that is, for example, patience. Because when we give an alm, I mean money or something material, Normally, it comes out of something that we have in excess. We're not taking something, like I'm not taking something that I need and I'm giving it to another person. Whereas if you're giving the person your time, which is your greatest gift of all, like the greatest thing that you have, and you're giving the other person patience, then you are giving something that you lack because you're trying to develop. You still don't have that. So that is like a bonus of a different kind of charity. I hope I made myself clear. So when you're patient towards other, and I'm absolutely sure that everyone hearing this has someone that really helps them work their muscle of patience, isn't it? It might be somebody from work, it might be somebody from the family, but you do have that special person that will help you develop patience. So the first one is patience towards other, which is a form of charity. The other is a patience towards yourself. And patience towards yourself, you're going to see, is essential for developing skills, developing virtues, for learning new things. If you're not patient with yourself, what are the chances of you developing anything? And some people say, but some people are born with a certain talent. Yes, but we spiritists know that to be born with a certain talent, that means that in previous lives, you develop that. So every learning process requires patience. And I was hearing a psychologist called Rossandro Klinge, and he was talking about how parents should teach their kids patience when they're young. In the past, he was saying in the past, when he was young and when I was young, it was the same thing. We would have to wait for things. And our parents would say no, and that was it. And we would have to deal with that. And I'm not saying that the way that they did it was the best way to do it, because we can still maintain boundaries, but be kinder. But what he said is that today, parents don't want them to suffer, and they give them everything at every time. Anytime they want something, they're giving it. And he said that that is so detrimental to the child's development, because everyone needs to develop patience. And if they don't develop as a child, life will come. And as an adult, it's much more difficult to learn that. And it was interesting because he was saying that he went to a lab where they were testing with hamsters the level of stress, and there were two groups. One group of hamsters, they had to go on the wheel, that little hamster wheel, and after they were on the wheel for a certain while, their food would fall, and then they could go there and eat the food, and they would eat the food, and that was it. Soon enough, these hamsters understood that if they wanted to eat, all they had to do was jump on the wheel and do, I don't know how long, and then the food would fall. And they would test the level of stress, because that means that they were required to do something to get food. And the level of stress of the hamster were normal. Don't ask me how they tested this level, because I wouldn't know. But the other group of hamsters, they had like 10 different kinds of food. They had no obstacles. They could just go there and grab the food. All they had to do was choose from the different food. They said that after a period of time, these hamsters' stress level were enormous, because they were so confused. And if we look at today, what we're trying to give our kids, we want them to have everything, all the options. Is that the best thing? Isn't frustration once in a while useful? And that's what he was bringing. He said, when you go through frustration, you start to develop patience, which is the ability to wait for something to happen. And that will be, and you all know, because we're all adults here watching this, that we need to learn, because it's not like that in life as we grow. We need to have that muscle, which is not a muscle, but we have to have that ability to be patient and to be in control. So we went to patience towards others, which is charity, patience towards yourself, which is actually a form of helping yourself. And the Buddhists say it's like patience towards self is self-compassion, is you giving yourself chance to develop your skills, which is, I thought it was really interesting. And the third one is patience towards the challenges of life. So patience towards the challenges of life is very, very closely linked to faith. And we're going to look at why that is. And I'm going to read as well, because this is in the Gospel as explained by Spiritism, and it's chapter 9, and the item is item number 11. So the higher spirits, when talking to Kardec and explaining about patience and faith, they say that the mother of all virtues which lead to the divinity is faith. So faith is the mother of all virtues. That's what they say. It has like everything has a flavor of faith. So patience has a flavor of faith, because if you want to endure suffering or waiting or problems without being annoyed or irritated, like the definition said and like Emmanuel said, you have to have some sort of faith that there's a purpose for that and that things will get better at the end. So faith is really closely linked. So now, how do we develop patience? Can anyone guess? How do we develop patience? I think that that's a crucial skill. And I have a very good friend in Brazil that she kept saying to me, I always ask for patience and all I get is problems. I said, maybe because you're asking the wrong way. Because patience can only be developed. And if you said, I want to learn how to be patient, what's going to happen? Situations are going to present yourself so you can develop your patience. So maybe be more proactive and use the situations you already have in your life to start developing patience. And I would suggest that start developing faith. And now I'm quoting this other book, which is Changing Attitudes. So Changing Attitudes, there's a chapter called The Grain of Mustard that talks about faith. And Hamed, which is a higher spirit, and it was written by him, but the medium was another person, was Francisco do Espírito Santo Neto. He said that all of us, we are born with a little seed of faith. All of us. And it's our job to develop that. And faith is the knowing that everything is right. There's nothing out of place. There's nothing that isn't the way it should be. That doesn't happen. Everything is in perfect order. So if you start developing faith, and I'm just going to read it because what he says is really beautiful. I wouldn't be able to word it the same way that he words it. And he says that it's an innate belief. It's something that we are born with. And we know that we have been building and we have been developing access to all the virtues through our numerous lives. So it's an impulse based on the absolute certainty that the divine power in all and any situation is always promoting and expanding our growth. So like I said in the beginning, is knowing that everything that comes into our life is part of a loving plan in our way to happiness. And he continues in saying that you can see that you can't expect a little baby when the baby's born to start speaking. That there are phases. So first the baby is going to say, whoever has baby knows, ba, 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 just that, which I don't know, babbling, like, and then they're going to start making syllables like pa, ma, ba, and then it starts getting more complex. And it depends on the child. It will go faster or less fast. But he said that with us, in terms of faith and the other virtues, it's the same thing. So we start learning and building on our knowledge. And if we look at what Emmanuel said like I read in the beginning, if we do this, what he said here, that first we have to identify the challenges and mistakes. So we look and say, okay, here there's something that's problematic. You have to identify. I'm here, I'm having trouble waiting in this line. So there's a problem here for me. And then working on that and learning how to be calm and understand that that's okay. Everything that's happening is okay. So we have now, as we come to an end, a great opportunity to develop our patience, especially those who are living in Melbourne. We have a wonderful opportunity to develop our faith and to develop our patience and to be there understanding that whatever it is that's coming our way, either we are able to deal with that or we are able to develop the skills to deal with that. So I hope you got some value from what I brought. We're coming to an end. I really appreciated all of you who listened to this, and I really hope it's useful to all. So we always finish with a vibration towards everyone who's in need. So if you want to join me, what we're going to do is we're going to imagine that from our hearts, we're going to emanate love to all those. And we are in a moment globally, isn't it, that we all need. I think people all around the world, we have to be very patient with each other. We do not know what the other person is going through. And I believe that most of us, or all of us, I would say, are going through tough things, are going through tough challenges. Some in one area, others in other areas, but we're all going through difficult situation. And if it's not directly with us, it might be with somebody we love, and still it affects us. So we're going to donate love to all those in need. So if you want to follow me, I'll guide through what I'm saying. So as we finish, we elevate our thoughts and we connect initially with our guardian angels or our spirit guide, our mentors, and ask them to help us elevate our thoughts even further to the higher spirits, from the Paul and Stephen Spirit to Center, and ask them to help us elevate our thoughts even more towards all the good spirits that are working towards the progress of planet Earth, and elevate even more towards Jesus and towards God, our Creator. And in this state, we imagine that a ball of light is forming in our hearts. And although separate, we are united in thoughts, and we're united energetically. And that this energy is being gathered and forming a huge ball of light. And we're offering the best that we have in our beings to help those in need. And because we're in the month of September, which is raising awareness to suicide and people with suicidal thoughts, we'll start vibrating to all those around the world who are feeling so desperate and in so much pain that they're thinking of taking their own lives. May our love strengthen their faith and their patience and their certainty that everything is going to be okay. We also elevate our thoughts and vibrate to all those families who have lost people during these difficult times. All the people around the world that are suffering with wars, with natural disasters, all those in physical pain, all those in emotional pain. May this energy continue so these people can benefit for this love that we have. We ask also for all those that we have challenged and that we have to really use our patience towards them because the relationships are challenging. We send our love to those as well. We send our love to our families and friends. And finally, we send love to ourselves. And may we be an example and a little bit of light wherever it is that we go during our week. So be it. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and I'll see you soon. Bye.